welcome to another episode of Q&RA on the GT podcast. I'm your host, John L. Gandy. Today, we got some pretty good topics to talk about. And before I get started, if you guys want to submit your questions, you can submit your questions of one of three ways. One, in the questions box in the story or in the anonymous. And the third way to put your questions up is through emailing me at torstrengthcoaching@gmail.com. I will put a link to that in the description video below. But with that being said, we had some pretty good topics to talk about. And I know I kind of been holding this episode off, but we just had nationals and also we had a new division get introduced. So we're going to get to that. But I want to get to you guys' questions. So this competitor says right here, and I'm going to keep these names anonymous if you guys want. I got 9th in my class out of 36 girls, but I did notice that some of the girls had breast augmentations. Do you think that will help me place higher or enhance my physique? First, if you want breast augmentation, if you want to get implants, that's your choice, not a coach's choice, your choice of how you want to enhance your physique. Now, your Miss Olympia winner, Laura Lee, Jazzy, and Vanya, they don't have implants. They're Miss Olympia and they're 3rd and 5th in the world right now. If you get them, it's just a look. You know, your body's going to change. Your body's going to alter. If you got 9th, you're out of 36 girls, you're beating 3/4 of them without it. Why do you all of a sudden feel like you need it? You're not all of a sudden going to take your physique from 9th to 1st just because you have them. It's just how you display your physique and also how you looked in the lineup. Now, I may look you up and see what's lacking, and I can let you know what maybe some things you need to work on. Also, just listen what Sandy or Becky say from feedback. But no, it's not necessary. But yes, a lot of girls have that, but you're spending $6,000, $10,000 on a breast augmentation only if you want that. And understand that you're going to have to take at least many months off from training and can't do certain things. And you're going to have to adapt to that with your physique because it changes your physique. I think a perfect example of this is Adela Garcia. She won 3 fitness Olympias without that. She won her first Olympia at 33 years old. And when she was injured in 2008, she had to sit out from that Olympia because she tore her knee during her practicing her routine. She got implants in 2008. So she had implants for 16 years, but as she got into her early 50s, she experienced back and neck pain. So she got them removed. So you don't compete forever. Understand when you're doing this for some certain time. And yes, you may have to go back or you may not have to go back to get it redone or if something happens to you in your health, but it's all a choice. But no, it's not necessary to get a breast augmentation. It's only if you want to get it and you want to enhance your look, not because a coach says, yes, you go get it and and no judge is ever going to say you need implants. I've never heard that. If they do, shame on them. But that's just my spiel. What are your thoughts on tattoos now these days? I'm starting to see girls with a lot of sleeves and their arms, their neck, their ribs, even someone covering their whole legs. Does that get critiqued or penalized? No, it does not. If you get tattoos, it's going to be hard for just depending on your placement. First of all, I mean, a lot of girls have their sleeves like, your Brunas, a lot of girls in bikini. I think it's more accepted now than it was, say, 10, 12 years ago. But understand it's going to be hard just to see muscle inserts and stuff, especially with me being classic, having my arms, my whole ribs done and one on my side. So it's going to be hard for a judge to see, but depending on your tan and depending on the stage lighting, it could do you justice, it could not, but you're just judged the same way either way. But I would say most likely get into a place where it's like not so critique, but for females, it's not so bad. But for the men's, that's where it's difficult. But yeah, if you have it, you have it. Don't use concealer. It's going to make your tan look splotchy and too dark and worse. And it's just something you have to deal with, unfortunately. But you made that decision, you made that choice, but it's just make good decisions. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not your mom and dad. Just make good decisions. What are the most common PEDs used in bikini? Okay, so I have a disclaimer in this video, so don't take anything I say and go out and do it because I feel like this is going to be a good long talk we're going to have. If you're going to get on PEDs because you're competing, but if you're just a recreational competitor, if you're just a recreational lifter, there's no need for you to take PEDs, especially now with influencers these days. if you are not competing at a high level, if you're not competing at a national level show and you're not placing very well, take more time to grow into your physique first. At least learn and develop, and maybe 5 years of doing this after some time, then decide to go on to that. But if you are doing it and you're not a competitor, you have no reason to do it. Understand that your hormones may be altered and certain dosages could harm you and hurt your internal health. But when you get into a national level show or even a pro show, there may be times where you may have to do little by little. And this is something I've learned from Corey Hageman. Just do little by little by little. But some of these coaches just push the envelope way too early. And you might, if your genetics are not the best, it could really screw you up. But the most common I'm hearing about, honestly, is like Anavar, clenbuterol, primobolan, Masteron, but the doses are very low, like very little. There are girls that have great genetics and they just do very little and they still maintain, but only when necessary, only when it's necessary, only when you understand, knowing what you're getting into, that I'm doing this because I know what I'm getting into and it may hurt or help me, versus you being so young and saying, I don't care, I want to win. And then look what happens. You know, you start getting virilized like that and start experiencing a lot of alterations to your physique, your jawline, your voice deepening, your clitoral I can't say that word. But anyways, just understand what you're getting into. Understand when you're mature and you've developed this for many years, because a great physique takes many years to develop. And yes, I think people look at it where it's like they have good genetics and they become pro way early, but everybody takes time. A good physique takes time to develop and grow. And I understand it with how fast and how super competitive bikini is now these days, especially with all the female divisions. Just take your time into growing and developing your physique first. All right. Next one. What are the things that you've noticed this year in bikini and wellness? Do you think certain things were a trend? We just had nationals. There were so many red suits. Like, I guess red's the popular thing, but like the whole red suit thing, like at least brings 2 suit colors and maybe look at the stage before you get on. And you know, that's just my take on it. But I think people are talking about more open about PED use and stuff. And, you know, some of the shows this year didn't have the depth, and some girls didn't want to do certain shows if they felt like they weren't going to win. I feel like the cost of competing was more competitive. They didn't have many. They only had like maybe 2 pro shows in California, the Battle of the Bay and San Diego, but they had the USAs in California because they didn't book out that venue. But the cost of competing is so much. The cost of food, the cost of travel, everything has gone up. And I feel like that's maybe deterring people if they don't have a sponsor or they don't have the resources, the income for that. I felt like that's what affected certain things. In wellness, I've kind of noticed that. I mean, I'm not going to talk about wellness on here as much as I used to, but wellness, the depth pool has really been hurting a lot of the shows in the US. And some of the shows outside the US were even more competitive. They had better lineups outside the US than they did outside the Olympia. But I think that people are starting to look at that and go, well, I don't have the genetics for it. I don't think I can keep up and compete with some of these genetically blessed girls in Brazil. I mean, let me just pull this up quickly. Here we go. Open. I actually took the liberty of doing this just to show you guys something. So here are the wellness pro wins. And we had 27 girls out of the 37 that won a show in the US. So the girls that are in purple are ones who have won a show in the US before, but they qualified outside the US. She won in Italy. She won in Brazil. And these 10 girls right here won outside the US. I did highlight Leonida because she won the Arnold UK. But the ones in purple won a show in Europe, and the ones in orange competed in the US, but they qualified in other countries. I think Emily won in Canada. She won in Brazil. She qualified in Spain. She qualified, I think, the Spain show. But if you just look at 27 girls have at least won a show in the US. And then I'm going to show you how the difference of the US competitors and Brazil. So Isabel is Brazilian, but she lives in the US. Bruna's Brazilian, but she lives in the US. But here are all the girls that are currently living in the US. There's 11 of them. And then there's 12 Brazilians right here. Juju is Brazilian but lives in France. That's why I highlighted her. But even Eduarda won a show in US. But most of them except Camille, Marcella, Val, and Narla, they won outside the US. But you can kind of see if 1/3 of the girls are Brazilian, you kind of can see who this division really belongs to. And I just don't think that some of these girls could compete, can keep up really physically with some of them. But outside of that, I mean, one thing that was kind of noticing that a lot of the girls, when they won their qualification, they're one and done. So it's kind of interesting, you know, with the lack of depth. And I don't know where the direction of wellness is going. I mean, I'm hoping with Issa as Miss Olympia that things do get better with that. And she has a look that I think many girls can look like. I mean, if you think about it right now, Franciele Matos, she's just genetically gifted in because how she's born. Like when someone is born that way, they train hard, they put in the work. That's a trifecta for success. And you know, when you have someone that was that dominant for 3 years straight, and the way she is built like that, you can't beat that. I mean, you don't call someone the gift just because you like the way it sounds. Phil Heath, that guy's gifted genetics. And it's like, I think it's discouraging people when they look at a physique that's genetically gifted like that. They can't keep up with that physically. And then the only way they can even go against these girls is by getting on a lot of juice and, well, suffering the side effects, obviously, from that. But that's just kind of my thing, what I've noticed it. But now we're going to get into this new division, fit model. So if you don't know, let me pull it up. Right, here we go. So we have the fit model division, which was kind of meant to look like Ashley Kay back in 2015 when she won her 3rd title against 32 girls. There's a part of me that says, I get it on the business side of things. I get where things are headed to in this division. I get where things are headed to in the female side, but I just don't think, I think it's going to be good as an entry level and then people can go into bikini. But I always saw bikini as like the entry level of physique. I always looked at it as the more attainable look and the look that people want to go for. But let's see if I can get an Ashley Kay photo from that. No, I think I have one photo pulled up. Let me get on my stories. So this is the look they're kind of going for. The whole stallion pose thing, people miss doing that because the problem was when you have so many divisions, it takes too much time to do certain things. So you kind of have to just do front, back, get to the point. I think I can see on the business side, but I just don't think if you're going to put this in, they got to have to take out some of the divisions. They're going to have to take out some of the divisions that are just not popular, and they're going to look at numbers. And one thing I noticed even so this year coming up, is that a lot of the promoters have removed divisions that felt like weren't getting an ROI or just not as popular. And it's not disrespecting any of the athletes that put in the work. It's just, it's a business at the end of the day, and promoters have to make money. That's why you don't see many women's physique shows. That's why you don't see many women's bodybuilding shows, fitness, figure, wellness even as well. It doesn't have many shows that are going to qualify for this year's Olympia. What has happened in the past couple of years now is that wellness, physique, and figure have taken a huge turn where a lot of PEDs have taken over the division because there are women that have crazy genetics, like crazy genetics, and they still remain feminine in the face. But then there are some where in order to physically keep up with these genetically gifted girls, they take it a little further and they wind up getting that women's bodybuilding masculinization, virilization look, and that's just not really appealing and not really great for the crowd to see. Now, on a business side, you know, on a money standpoint, because money means business, business means money, it just kind of falls short. And before they introduced this fit model division, I said, if you want those divisions, those muscular divisions to be brought back, you need to do something that's going to draw eyes to go and see that, you know. I mean, or they're just going to have to do something different or maybe even change the criteria and go, okay, like this is wellness and this physique is like wellness, but it's a little more, but it's nothing where it's like, you know, what the hell's going on? But I'll give you a perfect example of how I think, you know, everything keeps evolving, you know, like back when Dana Lynn Bailey won women's physique in 2013, it was very popular not because she has a great personality and people liked her style, but she had a physique that women wanted to look like. Same thing with figure with Aaron Stern and Nicole Wilkins, who won the Olympia 4 times and Aaron won it twice. They had a physique that many women wanted to look like, but it just kept evolving, more muscular, more, conditioning kept adding. And right now with Sydney Gillen being retired, I just don't think that figure has that face of the division that can really carry it forward. It's kind of, those divisions are headed downwards. And these girls these days now, they don't want this massive physique. They don't want these crazy, jacked, being too jacked up top. They don't want anything more muscular than even wellness is. So you cross that threshold of being this quad dominant, leg dominant, glute dominant girl to getting into more like physiques. It just doesn't do well. And obviously, masculizing of the women are something that people don't like. But even so, now with wellness, you can't really do wellness without taking PEDs. You can't do bikini without the use of PEDs, even at a national level show. Like if you just saw wellness when it started 3 years ago to what it is now, these girls are freaks. And it doesn't work when you have a Brazilian body like that. And that's what the criteria is based off of. How do you put that on an American body? It just doesn't work. But that's just my take on the whole thing is the pro league's kind of going for the more attainable look, right? I think this fit model division is going to be considered like classic bikini, essentially. Like, why do you think classic physique was even created? It was to look like Arnold. You've had it for now. It's going on year 10 in 2015. 2015 is going on year 10 because this division started in 2016. So 9 years. You've only had 3 guys win it. You've had Danny, Breon, and Chris Bumstead win the title, but it was created to look like an old school look because the envelope kept getting pushed. It's kind of, this is what's happening, right? As things keep getting bigger is better, bigger is better, bigger is better, bigger is better, and keeps going up, 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 up. They need to do something that's going to bring it down so you can draw people to that. But that being said, on the business side, there's a cap where if you're going to add something in, something's got to give. So you have to see what brings in the numbers, what draws in eyeballs to go and see that. But I think if you just like, even now that I'm thinking about it, there's a reason why the Arnold Classic only has those 3 divisions, bikini, wellness, and I guess fitness, because that's just the direction where things are headed to. These girls that are coming up, these kids, they've never really been exposed to seeing a female bodybuilder before. And you see them kind of get like, freaked out when they see how jacked, vascular, and how it appears in front of them. You kind of see them not like want to go to that. They don't want that. They want the more realistic looking, the more attainable look. So your girls that are coming up that are 16, 17, 18, 20-year-old girls, they want to look like Laura Lee. They want to look like Jen Dory. They want to look like Amy. That's who they want to be. Even girls in other countries that don't speak English, they want to look like the physique that they resonate and they want to attain. So even in Asia, I'm just going to give you an example because I've gotten this a lot when I asked who do you like and who do you want to look like? A lot of girls want to look like Laura Lee and Amy, even girls in Mexico and even girls in South Korea. That's who they want to go for. They don't have a open guy or a big girl in their country because that's just not a look that they see as in the norm. They want something more realistic looking. And I think that's kind of the direction where I think things are headed to. But when they realize they can't get into certain condition, they can't get those tie-ins, it's hard for them to compete with some of these girls in the US. They get discouraged and they don't want to participate. And promoters suffer when they lose money and they lose revenue. Like the reason why the Arnold only has 6 divisions is because they feel comfortable with those divisions, as these are the divisions we want to bring, we feel comfortable having, and it's going to bring us the traction that we need. That's why a couple years ago they removed women's bodybuilding, figure, 212, and women's physique, because they just don't bring in the numbers. Like someone asked why they weren't bringing back 212, and he said that all the top guys don't want to do it. So how do you have a show and people don't want to do it? And a couple years ago, that Arnold, and this number was asked, they lost $4 million because they couldn't have any audience, no expo, no nothing. And they're putting, and the main attraction for the Arnold is open men's and classic. That's why the prize money is going. So I think people got upset when Arnold said, "I want this to be the best bodybuilding show on the planet." He's saying, "I want the best open men's show." That's the main traction for the Arnold and for the Olympia. But if I'm happy to see that Pittsburgh is increasing the prize money for Bikini, and I'm excited about this Bikini Arnold, especially with the lineup they have. This is like a great lineup. I'm excited for Pittsburgh. I can't wait to be there in person. The Arnold, I'm not sure if I can attend. I'll see what I can do beforehand, but we'll see how January and February looks like and if I can make it. But I'm going to definitely be covering it. I'm definitely going to still be covering these shows. After this year, I think the first show is going to be last week of February. So we're going to be heading into the new season. And I'm really excited for it. But that's just my take on the whole fit model division and where things are headed to. And I feel like that's kind of the trend. But I feel like if people took the time to actually develop their physiques, and after a while, then yes, get on to that. But that being said, this was another question. I went on. Do you think this new fit model division will affect Bikini and that people will downsize to Bikini? No, I feel like if you're in Bikini, you're in it. If you're starting out and it's like you have that kind of look, I feel like it's great to just try it out and see how it goes. And then when your body naturally wants to develop, then yes, go into Bikini. But I think the hardest part right now is saying, this is fit model, this is Bikini, figure, wellness. It's just hard to like I'm not a judge for that reason. I'm going to still specialize in Bikini, but it's just going to be hard to differentiate and say what's what. Because now you have 7 divisions essentially right now for female, and now you have like only 4 for the men. Maybe they do something and bring back a men's division, which looks more attainable, because men's physique is just like, it's getting too big. And that's why they put in weight caps. But for females, they're never going to put in a weight cap for that. That's going to be more controversial. But we'll just have to see what goes on from here on up. But yeah, the future looks great, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Like, remember, it's just starting out. So they're going to see how it goes. When wellness started and now what is now, it's kind of, where do you go about it? So we'll see how this goes when it starts out. Maybe it does good. Maybe it does not. I can trust that the pro league and what Tyler's doing is doing something good for people to participate in, but we'll see about that. And I appreciate you guys. Catch you next time. Thank you.